Hey, what is up guys? I want to do a quick review of the Omega Seamaster Professional 300 meter dive watch with the Seiko SKX009K2. These are both very iconic divers. The Omega is roughly 10 times the price or so of the Seiko SKX, so it's not really like an apples to apples comparison per se. However, both of these watches do have their very unique value proposition, especially at each of these price points. And they're very comparable in terms of their functionality. Obviously, the Omega is a luxury product. You're going to get more enhanced specs, build quality, materials. But for the money, you can't go wrong with SKX either. I think they retail around $300. So the SKX, this guy has a thickness of 13.5 mil thick. The diameter is 42 millimeters. The lug distance here is 46 millimeters, and the lug to lug width is 20 millimeters. The movement that this watch uses is the 7S26 by Seiko. It's an fully in-house movement. It has a 41-hour power reserve. The accuracy is rated to be about plus or minus 30 seconds, give or take. My particular SKX will run about let's say 10 to 15 seconds a day. It features the day and date function, a fully screw down crown, 200 meters of water resistance, 660 feet. The bezel action is very easy to turn. It's almost too easy. I found that this can be a bit of a slight inconvenience. Sometimes when I accidentally knock into it, I'll look down at my watch and it'll be like, or the Loom pip will have moved. So that's just a minor inconvenience. And there is a little bit of play in between positions as well. So it's not like the best dive bezel, but it is very easy to turn. It is very functional. The glass that you get on here is a mineral glass, which isn't as scratch resistant as sapphire, but it'll do the job. And the lume on this watch is quite incredible. It shines like a flashlight. It's got these like needle syringe style hour hand, and then this arrow style minute hand. So it's extremely legible, very easy to see. Everything is fully loomed. It comes with this Jubilee bracelet. Now this bracelet has gotten a lot of flack for being kind of flimsy and wobbly. As you can see, it's a pressed metal clasp. You do get a lot of micro adjust positions here. I found that the bracelet is actually very comfortable on the wrist, and it looks, I think it looks really elegant. That's the SKX for you. So here is the SMP in all its glory. Now this is the 2018 model. It's been refreshed, it's been updated, and some of the new things on this model are, the return of the wave dial, a new movement. It's the caliber 8800. A lot of the design language has remained similar, but they've made it a little bit more bold with this one. In terms of the specs, the thickness is very close to the SKX. It's about 13.7 mil thick. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, and the wingspan, or the lug distance, is 50 millimeters. Lug to lug is 20 millimeters as well. It runs Omega's caliber 8800, which you can see with this display case back. It's an extremely heavily tested movement. It's meta certified to 0 to plus 5 seconds a day. Mine gets about +1 or so a day. Extremely accurate. Now when you think about this watch being 10 times the price of the Seiko, you might be wondering, are you getting 10 times the watch? In terms of the accuracy, I can say yes, because this one gets +1, the Seiko gets about +10. Obviously, accuracy is not the only reason why we buy watches. We could get quartz watches for a dime a dozen. That would be crazy accurate, more accurate than any automatic watch could be conceivably. But some of the other things that you're paying for, the brand provenance, you're getting an Omega. It's a very big brand in terms of its history, in terms of its accomplishments. It was the first watch worn on the moon. They've timed many Olympic Games. And then you're getting the build materials. The bezel here is ceramic, the dial is ceramic, which means it's very anti-scratch, anti-tarnish. In terms of the bezel action, this bezel is not as easy to turn as the SKX, but is still very solid. I've heard that it's a huge improvement over the outgoing model of the SMP. Now, I actually personally like that it's not super easy to turn. I don't like it when the bezel action is too loose, because sometimes when I knock into it, or like I mentioned with the SKX, the bezel will move and I'll look down and the bezel will have moved, and that can be just a minor inconvenience. So I actually prefer that it takes a little bit of extra grip to get it going. And it's still very functional. And the Loom is excellent on this watch. As you can see, it's got that bicolor Loom application with the blue and the green. The only downside of the Loom on the Omega is when you look at the SKX, as I mentioned, the hour and minute hands are fully filled in. With the Omega, it's got the sword style hands, but the actual hour and minute hands aren't gonna be fully filled with Loom. And that sometimes will impact legibility a little bit in the dark, but I haven't had a huge issue with it. That's just one minor gripe that I have in terms of the overall Loom. Final thoughts, I think the Seiko is just a workhorse, and it's a classic, and it's very highly respected. You get a solid brand with an in-house movement. I think that this is a very timeless design. I think that about covers it. Which watch do you love more? Do you own one of these watches or both of these watches? Do you want to own either of these watches? And what do you like or dislike about each of these? I will catch you in the next one.